Hello there to the Safuu community out there. It's Nathan B here with another longer video today, but I do have some great information I have 4 tips on how to secure your SafuuX full or light node. This is a part 1. I'm going to do a part 2 soon. So I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe, like, and share the video. But let's get going. Here is my security tip number 1. I want you to log on to your SafuuX node. Okay, just like that. I want you to come down to this magnifying glass, this search option, and click on search option and type in Windows Security. Click on the Windows Security app. So in this security at a glance, the goal here is to have all these different sections green, meaning they're running, meaning they're protecting the node. Okay, so if they're not, which they should by default if you roll out the Windows 11 build I have, but if not, I want you to come in here for virus and threat protection, go down to manage settings and make sure everything is on as we go down the entire list there. Once you've made sure all that is on, you can see here that I have a yellow explanation mark here. So I'm going to click on that, and it's talking about reputation-based protection. And this setting will protect your device from malicious or potentially unwanted apps, files, and websites. So I'm going to turn that on, and I'm going to go back, and you can see then that this one is completely protected with Windows Defender on your Windows 11 build. Here is my security tip number 2. Again, log on to your SafuuX node, or if it's running, I want you to go down to the magnifying glass here and search for Windows Update Settings and hit enter. Okay, so Windows or Azure will push updates to Windows once a month. Okay, so the second Tuesday of every month, Microsoft release a large security update, and Azure says that it will deploy that out of hours. So depending on your time zone, they will deploy, out of hours. They'll push that within a few days, okay, automatically. That's on by default. Okay, so and with these updates, there is typically, a reboot there. So there is going to be some downtime. If you want to look at disabling that, there is an option here. If you come into the Windows Update settings, you can pause it for up to 5 weeks. So if I click pause there, you can see that it won't apply any of those patches, hence it won't reboot automatically out of hours for that 5-week period. To resume that, you just click on resume. Now, but this is a security video, so that's not something that you really want to do. Keeping the Windows operating system up to date is a good way to secure it as well. So now what you want to do when you set up your node is to come in here and click on check updates. if there's anything there, you want to just go ahead and install that and have it up to date for the time when you roll out your node. So that is my Windows security tip number 2. Here is my security tip number 3. This security tip is around authentication, logging on to the Azure portal to manage your SafuuX full or light node. And by default, we're just going to be using a password. So passwords are insecure. So this is adding more than one authentication method to, managing and your node in the future. So what I want you to do is I want you to open a browser and then go to portal.azure.com. Now, if you follow my other videos, you should already have a subscription set up. The one I've been using for all my videos is this SafuuX at hotmail.com. So when I log on, it's going to ask me for a single authentication, right? Just a password. I sign in, and that's it. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to add another authentication method to my account, and that would be creating some sort of two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. So let's set that up. It gets a little tricky in here, so again, just pause the video, rewatch it, and go through my steps, and let me know if you have any questions as well. So I'm logged onto my subscription, one password as you saw. Now, the first thing what you want to do is go and turn on the authentication for the identity, right? That's SafuuX. In my case, the SafuuX at hotmail.com. So if you go up to this search resource service and docs, you want to type in something called Azure Active Directory. Okay, it'll populate this one as the first one, and I want you to click on Azure Active Directory. And then the next step is to go down to Manage and Users. I suspect that most people, when they set up a new subscription, are just going to have one identity like I have here, and that's normal. There may be a case where a few of you are sharing your SafuuX light nodes or full nodes with other people, and in that case you might have other identities. But if you're a single individual that's owning one full node or one light node or 5 light nodes in the same subscription, then you're probably just going to have one identity, and that's pretty normal. So let's click on the identity itself. And once you click on the identity, I want you to go down to this assigned roles here, and you'll see only one assigned role to that identity. Now, the assigned identity, or the role that's assigned to this identity is global administrator, right? So it's essentially God to this subscription, to everything that's on this subscription, and that's I expect that, and that's what you want to see. Now, next, what I want you to do is I want you to go back to this user link up here. So I'll just zoom in because this is where it could be a little complicated. Is click on this link here, users. And then the next step, what I want you to do is I want you to go and select this per user MFA, which stands for multi-factor authentication. So click on that. It's going to take you to another site, which is the multi-factor authentication user and server settings. And you can see here that my identity is listed and the status of the MFA, the multi-factor authentication, is disabled. So our first thing is we want to enable that. Okay, so click on that enable option, and then again to enable multi-factor auth. Okay, so that's done. You can see it's enabled. You could try another step, or I would suggest you do this extra step, which is go and enforce it. All right, so click on this arrow again and then enforce it to make sure that you always require a multi-factor authentication to be enabled. So I'm going to do that as well. So now I can see here the status is that it's enforced. To disable it, it's simply selecting that and reversing it and clicking on disabled and disable it, yes. But we're not going to do that. Let's select no. I'm going to jump across to this service settings option and select that. And in here you have different types of verification options. All right, so you have text messages on your phone, you have notifications through a mobile app, and then verification phone from mobile app or hardware token. So you can pick which one works for you. For now, I'm just going to leave them all on by default because I'm not interested in changing them. I'm just going to use, for this demo, the text message to phone. Okay, so now we can go back to our portal, and there is one more step we need to do, which is we need to go back to, we need to click on the identity again. So in my case, it's going to be this display name here. All right, so we click on that. And then what we want to do is we want to come down here under manage in the identity and click on authentication methods. Okay, so let's click on the authentication methods. And this is the easiest way I found to do this, but now we're going to click on this access panel profile. It's going to bring us up to this other page here, another different website. But what you want to do now is go and click on edit security info for the single identity in my Azure subscription. So let's click on edit security info. Okay, it's already asking me for the text message to log on there. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to enter the last 4 of my cell phone here. Okay, and I'm going to send the code. And the code has come in here, so I'm going to select that on my cell, and I am going to copy out that, and I'm going to paste it in here. So I'm going to verify that. Okay, so the reason why it was asking for that is because I think I have my cell number set up within the identity in another area, but this additional step is what you should just do for multi-factor authentication, and that is add a sign-in method here. So I'm either going to choose here the Authenticator app, so it could be a Microsoft Authenticator or a Google Authenticator, but for this demo I'm going to choose phone. I'm going to add that, and I'm going to add in my cell number. Okay, and I'm going to click next. Okay, so another text message has come in here to set it up. I'm going to copy that code and put it in there and click next, and that should be all set up. Okay, I can see it set up there. I can change it. I can come back in here and follow those steps, and I can add an additional, like the Authenticator app. If I wanted to select that, I'll just show you what that looks like. I'm going to click on add, and then it tells you that, hey, you can use the Microsoft Authenticator. I'm pretty sure that you can use the Google Authenticator. You know, it's just going to be the same, asking you for a QR code. You go to that app on your cell phone and scan that QR, etc. So I'm just going to clear out of this. Now, let's go ahead and test this by signing out. Okay, so I want to, let's sign out and forget. Okay, and I'm going to close down the browser altogether, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to open a new session. So I'm simulating, me coming into my SafuuX node subscription and doing some sort of work on, changing something, checking something. So I'm going to log on and I'm going to enter SafuuX at hotmail.com in my case. Click next, and I expect the first factor authentication to come up here. So I'll enter that, which is the password. So that's the first factor of authentication. And it's now asking me for that text message. So I'm gonna say, yep, go and send it to that. It's gonna ask me for the last two of my cell. Click send code. And then I'm just going to wait for, that code. And I'm going to verify. So now I'm logged on to my portal again. And yeah, this was a way to enable more than one authentication method to secure your subscription in a better way than just having a password. Here is my security tip number 4, the last tip I have in this video in part 1. Now, this one is a little advanced. I think you can look through it and see if it works for you. If it's something of interest, then sure, enable it. Now, this one is around connecting to your node to manage it, the actual instance of Windows that you can log on to. And what this one is all about is restricting it to a particular IP address that you may have in your home, or something that's pretty static. Okay, so the end goal would be that the only IP address that could connect to your SafuuX node would be from one or more IP addresses that you lock down in a way that I will show you. So if this is of interest to you, continue to watch, and I'll go through that now. Right, so I'm on my portal again. I'm just going to minimize this and show you what I mean. So when I connect, I've done this in previous videos. When I connect to my SafuuX node via this application that comes with Windows, the Remote Desktop Protocol, to manage my node directly on my Windows box, to look at the status of it, to look at the health of it, to look at how the web application or the application that's installed on Windows for, for the SafuuX blockchain. Anything that you want to do, this is where I suggest you do it through. Now, you can see here that I'm connecting to my public IP address in Azure 20.163.56.18. Now, if I map that to the portal, I'll just go back here. You can see here that 20.163.56.18, okay? So that's what it is listening on. And the risk here is that anyone that had that public IP and your credentials, like your, whatever your username and password is, then they could come in from their IP address, wherever that is in their house, or, wherever they're coming in, their phone, their provider, their IP address. Now, and so the goal here, yeah, you would lock it down so only the specified IP addresses that you have or you own would be allowed in. So let's go ahead and do that. So once I've logged on to my portal here, I'm going to come across into my virtual machine, and I'm going to click on my node. And I'm going to come down to this setting here, which is networking, okay? And once I click in networking, I'm going to bring up, yeah, I think that works. I'm going to bring up this detail here. I guess I could call it some detail here. Now, so this is all about networking. It's a little complicated. The key parts here, I will say, is that there's this thing in Azure called Network Security Groups, NSGs. And an NSG is what will lock down certain IP addresses, certain protocols, certain services to allow or deny them, which you can see over here. The thing that's allowing us to get into Azure to monitor our node is this one here, Remote Desktop Protocol, the port. I'm allowed on any protocol, any source, or any destination. So by default, yeah, as I said, anyone can kind of come in with your credentials if they know that public IP address, and then your user account, and then they do need to know your password. But the previous tip I gave you was around locking that down from an identity point of view with creating multiple factor authentication. So that can help, in the broader sense of securing your SafuuX node. But back to this. Now, what I want to do here is I want to add my owned public IP or private IP that I have for my house, and I want to only allow that. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that. So what I want to do here is you want to click on this Add Inbound Port Rule, so going into Azure, and the source here, you're going to want to change it to IP addresses. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go and find out what your house IP address is through your router software, whether you have a Netgear router and things like that. That part you'll have to go and look at how to do that. So once I added my own IP address, I'm going to come down here, and destination is going to be IP address. No, excuse me. It'll be any custom will be only. I'll do RDP if I can find that. A bit further down. Did I miss it? RDP. There it is. And allow. And the priority here is I'm going to do it lower than the 310. So I'm going to make this 300 because that's going to have priority. The lower the number is going to have priority in this case. I'm going to call this one home router IP. Okay, so I just double check that. So that's coming from IP addresses. Yeah, it looks good. Allow. Okay, so I'm going to allow that. So now it's going and creating that, but while that's happening is I'm going to go to this item here, this default, and I'm actually going to deny this one to say deny everything else essentially except for the one that I just created. So you want to deny that as well. Okay, so I think they're both saving. They're created. Okay, good. Now I have my allow source to any. Any's okay because I'm coming into Azure. Okay, that looks good to me now. And so what I'm going to do, sometimes these NSGs, these network security groups, take a little while to get set up, but I'm going to go back to here now, and I'm going to connect and see if it allows me in. Okay, so I'm gonna, okay, so I can get in now, excuse me. I'm gonna I can get in now, no problem. Okay, so I'm going to wait for this. I'm going to log off, and then I'm going to do one more thing to change this. So I'm in. Let me log off again, sign out. All right, so I'm going to go back to my portal. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change the last number on my personal IP that I don't have for my house router, and I'm going to save that. So I'm just testing whether that now I should be denied, because I'm allowing something that I'm not coming from, and everything else should be denied from this entry. So let's go back. Okay, here we go. I am trying to connect to the same, my node in Azure, and it looks like it's not going as quickly as it usually was before. And there you go. It is denied. So if I was, I don't know, a hacker or whatever, and I was trying to come in with that different IP, I couldn't get there, okay? Now I'll just quickly go back here and I'll change it to my actual IP at my house router, and I'll save that, and I'll make sure that I can get back in. Okay. Okay, there you go. I can now get to a point where we couldn't before after changing that, and I'm back in. Great. Now, in summary, I was blocking every other IP address that exists out there anywhere in the world from coming in and accessing my SafuuX node. The challenge that this adds is that you will only be able to connect to that SafuuX node if you're in your home, right? If that's the source IP address that you have there. You could, if you have a dedicated IP address for your cell phone that you have with your service provider, you could add that there as well and have two. But yeah, this will stop you being able to, connect to use that remote desktop on your phone, which is what I had set up here before, and I can quickly test that for you. If I log on here and I go to my node and I go down and try and connect here. Actually, I am coming in from my house, so let me just kill that off. So I'm in a cellular service. So let me test that with my cell phone here now. So I'm actually on my cellular service here, you can see, and I'm going to try and connect in here. And my expectation is here, I'm connecting to that same, you can see there, it will not allow me from this connection. So that is a downside. But as I said, if you have a dedicated IP from your service provider, it will work as well. Sorry, this one was a little long, but I've gone through 1 to 4 security tips in the future when you're setting up your SafuuX full node or light node. This was a part 1. I have some other ideas around, securing other things in Azure to help you keep this as secure as possible. And so stay tuned for that. Take care, everyone, and thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.